Welcome to Lazy Cinema, and on this installment, we're gonna see how a trio of people will travel around the world in the most impossible manner of all time, with not only a few guest stars along the way, but including a well-kept hidden secret that will change everything in this film, in Disney's Around the World in 80 Days. Hello everyone and welcome to a new episode of Lazy Cinema. I'm your host, Lazy Universe, and today we're talking about one of the worst films that I've seen starring Jackie Chan, and that is Around the World in 80 Days, also starring Steve Coogan, and also having Frank Corazzi in the role, especially as the director also of the film as well, and including having a lot of guest stars, including Danny Wu, Sammo Hung, Kathy Bates, Macy Gray, and, of all people, Arnold Schwarzenegger. This is a film that's also based on the Jules Verne classic novel under the same name, Around the World in 80 Days, where we are joined by Lao Xiu, played by Jackie Chan, or Patrick Support, who meets Steve Cooper, who plays the role of Phineas Fogg, a man who wants to do nothing but join the World National Society for Science, and and while he does want to be an inventor, everybody stands in his way, including his own boss, who wants to just take him down as well. Disney can do live action movies. There are a lot of Disney live action movies that deserve a well better title than what they're given, and there are a bunch of them, and including one of my favorite ones happens to be The Jungle Book with Jason Scott Lee, which was done a phenomenal job at incorporating what the book by Rudyard Kipling really wanted to bring to the table. This one, however, has a very poor job of doing so. The director Frank Corazzi does his best in this, but really tries to tie it down to mostly using a lot of CGI and special effects shots to go from scene to scene to scene. And that would not be a bad thing if this film didn't feel so very quickly on par. And also including having the Wright brothers played by Owen Wilson and his successful brother Luke, who also had a phenomenal film after this one called Old School that they were both in together. This really does not capture what these people are intentional of doing, including Jackie Chan, who had Shanghai Noon and Shanghai Night under his belt by this point, and really was suffering in this film, particularly acting-wise. Now, choreography-wise, it's a Jackie Chan choreography film, and he pulled off everything that he's learned up until this point. But going on to doing the Disney type of film, yeah. He should have just stuck with doing the Cantonese version of I'll Make a Man Out of You instead of being where he is in here. Now, make no mistake, Jackie Chan is a fine and creative actor, including choreographer, including coming back to one of my favorite films I've seen him in as of recently, which was The Foreigner. But looking at him back then, including where he stumbled around in his career a bit, this is definitely one of those parts. And especially speaking as a massive Jackie Chan fan, that's kind of sad for me to see him go on a route like this, especially when he comes back in his career only to fade away again and then come back with a massive hit that was The Foreigner, and including also before that, Rush Hour 3. It's shown that the man does have potential, but in this film he really does flip-flop around on what he's supposed to be doing. Is he still funny? In some areas, yes, but he doesn't feel like he is himself in this, and maybe that might be due to the director more so than himself. Maybe the director's involvement had him feel a little bit more awkward than he was supposed to be, especially that this film also had some stereotypical Asian racism in it, including having a man not only looked like that he had yellow skin, but also some big buck teeth in the process, and that's kind of not an okay thing to do, especially for Disney, and especially to make a lot of stereotypical gay jokes in this one, and it's supposed to be funny. Now, don't make no mistake, if you can make a successful joke land, then obviously you're doing something right, but if you make it seem too off-putting, then it really does fail in this regard, including the casting of this special guest in this, including Arnold fucking Schwarzenegger, Kathy Bates, Sammo Hung, Danny Hu, and Macy Gray. Where do you get these people? Is my only question, including seeing Kathy Bates as frickin' Queen Victoria, and including John Cleese as the Chief of Police. I admit, these are very lovely, very funny people and are great actors, but why would you get them, including Sammo Hung of all people? This is one of the worst I've seen, including throwing together a script that was really well done, and including Steve Cooper as Phineas Fogg. Yeah, he did not feel the part very well. He did try his best, but it's not similar on par. And I'm not speaking because I've read the book, I haven't, but I'm just saying, even for him in this, he does feel kind of like out of place, and at some points acting like acting like one of the doctors from Doctor Who instead of where he is supposed to be. I suppose the only good actress in this would be Cecile de France, who did an amazing job as, well, I forget her name, but still does an amazing job in it nonetheless as a French painter, including also having one Rob Schneider in this as well as a crazy man, which does pay off because Rob Schneider is rather hilarious no matter where someone puts him. All in all, this film has some kind of good directing, but a really shit story, and it really fucking shows off, especially during both in between the film, during the halfway point, and then especially towards the ending, where they try quickly to wrap things up. And especially since they pulled something off, instead of saying that it was done in 80 days, that it was done in 79, this film should be noted as Around the World in 79 days instead of Around the World in 80 days. And I hate to really go against Jackie Chan, one of my favorite actors and also choreographers, and at some point directors, especially that underneath his belt by this point he had Jackie Chan, The Adventures of Jackie Chan, or Jackie Chan Adventures. This is very sad to see where he has fallen during this point, and I'm especially glad that he did not fall this far anymore in his career, and especially working with some very creative people who he had some honors of working with in the past. Well, that's it for this episode of Lazy Cinema, and this, I have got to say, is one of the worst Disney live-action films I've ever seen, especially at a point where a lot of shit-tastic Disney live-action films came out during the early 2000s. Well, some work and others don't. So thank you guys so much for joining me. I'm Lazy Universe, welcome to Lazy Cinema, and I'll see you next time with another review of hopefully something better.